It occurred to me a couple of weeks ago that I've never done a favorite books by Black SFF author video before. And then in a wonderful case of serendipity, I got a sponsor who synced well with the ideas. So yeah, you heard that right. This video is a sponsored one. As I was curating this list, a consistent theme kept popping up across all the books, and that is the theme of trauma and how we move on from traumatic experiences as Black people. I found it interesting that these Black authors who cut across different countries, different nationalities, different ages, different experiences, different writing styles, different genres, all brought in Black trauma and pain into their work. But at the same time, it feels honest, doesn't it? Our bodies are the living embodiment of our trauma. Our ancestry knows the taste of it, the horror of it. And that is what drew me to the concept of Kukou, an African mythological horror comic. I mean, look at that. Look at that art. Look at it. There's a djinn, y'all. There's a djinn with blades and everything. You have characters that are practically Lovecraftian. It's weird and creepy and horrifying. I mean, look at that. That is a mouth. That is a mouth, y'all. Not a stomach. A mouth. I mean, the world building in Kukou is rich with an amazing integration of diverse African cultures, because I always say it on my channel and I say it on Twitter and I say it everywhere when I need to say it. Africa is not a monolith. Different cultures are thousands of different tribes. The continent is very diverse and you see that represented in Kukou. And let me tell you, I cannot wait to get my hands on this comic. Like, I can't wait to get my hands on this comic, and I am certain we share the same sentiments, because I repeat, an African mythological comic that employs and embraces different African cultures and traditions. What is not to love? And the great thing about it, if you're as excited for this as I am, is the fact that the Kickstarter for Kukou is live right now. Like, right this very instant. The link to the Kickstarter is in my description box. I do not mind. In fact, I am perfectly okay with you pausing this video right now, going to that box, clicking on it, and going to make your pledge. Trust me, you do not want to miss this, especially because Kukou is brought to us by Kugali Media. Yes, you heard it. It is Kugali Media that is sponsoring this video. And I am sitting here like, Kugali. Why does that name sound familiar? It's because Kugali were the ones that created Nnedi. And you know Kugali came through for Nnedi Volume 2. They kept to all their promises, and most importantly, the comic did that. Nnedi Volume 2 did that. We're able to continue with the story of Mina and Lamin and Laye and Belo. We saw the theme of forgiveness and restoration come full circle, and further drove home the question of if the descendants should truly be punished for the sins of their ancestors. All the while, we followed these brave women who find their strength and confront the truth that they thought they knew. Nnedi was amazing. Kukou, I think Kukou would be even more amazing. Plus, it's Kugali's first official Bonzo story. Now, if you're anything like me, you'll be like, Bonzo? What on earth is Bonzo? Well, you know the way in which Japan has manga, China has manhwa, and South Korea has manhwa? Well, it's the same thing with Bonzo. Bonzo is the term coined for African sequential storytelling form that has its roots both in the Kiswahili's Kibonzo, which means cartoon, and in Shona's Bonzo, which means bone. In other words, I would define them as cartoons that hold within them the bones of African culture. They give our stories light and movement and grace. So yeah, Bonzo. It has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? As nice a ring as Kugali's collaboration with Disney for Iwaju, which is coming out next year, and your girl is ready. However, if horror isn't your thing, don't worry about it. Kugali has even more stories coming down the pipeline that would fit your interest. Whether you want middle grade themed stories or science fiction, whatever it is, you name it, it's coming down the pipeline. But if Kukou is your cup of tea, then I would stress and repeat that you should not forget to check link to the Kickstarter that is in the description box and wait for the sheer amazing mind-blowing entertainment that is coming your way. Don't say Naria never gave you anything. Now moving on to my list proper, starting with The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. Now, I am sure nobody is surprised about this book being the first book I'm pulling out on this list. I mean, I have screamed my love for this book. I have exclaimed, like I have made sure that every couple of seconds I remind the world how amazing this book is. And boy, is it amazing. But honestly, I would consider this a hybrid book because it has some science fiction elements and it also has some fantasy elements, but it's all N.K. Jemisin telling us a quick-paced story with compelling characters that are as diverse as they come, living in one of the most diverse cities in the world that is so close to experiencing a cataclysmic event. Because see, in this story, in this universe that N.K. Jemisin created, cities have souls, and there are some cities who want to devour these souls. Meanwhile, New York has 5 souls, each one of them coming from the individual boroughs and speaks to the core of what makes New York, New York. From its diversity to the fact that it's stolen land, to the racism, to the gentrification, to Wall Street, to the birth of hip-hop, to the immigrants that are present in New York, all tied together in this story by art and music and science and math and magic and power and love. Love for our family, chosen and otherwise, and love for the city that so many call home. The writing is spectacular, as is the world building, as is N.K. Jemisin. I love this book so much.
Absolute perfection.
Moving on to the second book on my list, that is Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. I mean, it's an alternate historical fantasy novella that captures an entire world in less than 180 pages, gives us character growth and development, all the while being rooted in the time in which it is placed. Because see, this takes place in 1922, a year after the Tulsa Massacre. The KKK is thriving, and our lead character, Maurice, runs a bootlegging operation by day and hunts demons called Ku Kluxes at night. What are Ku Kluxes? Think of them as Lovecraftian monsters weaving their way through the world in the meat suit of the KKK. Monsters that were summoned by D.W. Griffith, because see, in this book, The Birth of a Nation is not just a movie, it's a summoning spell, throwing open the portals of the world to let these creatures in. This book is bloody and gory and fast-paced and absolutely brilliant. And just like with The City We Became, and honestly with all the books on this list, it centers the trauma that Black people face. And I'm always someone that's always said that it's so easy to get novellas wrong, but this novella, P. Jelly Clark gets so bloody right, and it is so amazing.
You the real MVP.
Third on my list is a fairly recent release that has quickly shot up to the top of my list, and that is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. This is an Arthurian retelling whereby the descendants of King Arthur's Knight of the Round Table fight demons that humans cannot see, all the while dealing with the threat of being called upon by their ancestral knights, whilst fighting off the end of the world and also trying to get by at school. Because see, this kids are in university. And of course, you also have the whole matters of the heart that is tossed in, because why not? This book is intense and it's magical and it's historical. Not that it takes place like 18th century or years in the past. No, but because it is rooted. And yes, I use the word rooted on purpose. If you've read the book, you will get it. Because it's rooted in Black history, Black magic, Black trauma, Black pain, Black camaraderie, and Black ancestry. Tracy Dion gave us an incredible book that thrums with Black girl magic. And the way she's able to thread together, to weave together Arthurian myth and legend with African American history and magic is phenomenal. Like, this book is phenomenal.
Perfecto.
Then there's Who Fears Death by Nnedi Okorafor. This follows Onyesuowu, a girl born of a violation and who wears that trauma, a mother's trauma, on her skin. And who is angry, rightfully angry, as she sets out to bring about the destruction of the monster who sired her. This book is thrumming with pain and rage and power, and what it means to meld all those emotions into fuel that would propel you to where you're going and where you need to be. It's magical. It's African jujuism at its finest. Onyesuowu is not the most likable character. In fact, I'm fairly certain a lot of people would not like her as a character. But I do. I absolutely adore this woman. She's a woman who has power, who knows her strength, and who sets out to use it. She's also someone who does not sacrifice what she wants or who she is to get what she wants. And that just, I love it. I love this book. I adore this book. This book was my very first Nnedi Okorafor novel, and it just gave me chills, and it also made me fall in love with her and her writing.
And holy shit! We'll always love.
And then there's Freshwater by Akwaeke Emezi, which I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of difficult for me to categorize because it's technically not urban fantasy, even though it does take place within an urban environment, like settings, like situation, and it does have fantastical elements to it. I mean, when Akwaeke tells us that the first madness was that we were born and that they stuffed a god into a bag of skin, I got shivers. I knew I was in for a ride, and goddamn, they delivered on that. Because what a ride Freshwater was. It's a beautiful story that centers Igbo mysticism and culture. To be precise, it centers the Ogbanje, a being that is born with one leg in the spirit world and one leg in the world of the humans, in the world of the living. And they are torn between both worlds. And this is the source of the Ada's distress. The Ada being the main character that we meet in this book. The Ada, who just like all the other characters on this list, experiences trauma that is catalyst for this change for them. Akwaeke's writing, their witticism, the way they tell a story that swells and overspills its banks with power and purpose and imagery that would take your breath away. It's genius.
Perfection achieved.
Then there's the Xenogensis series by Octavia E. Butler. I got the compilation novel in this, and it's titled Lilith's Brood. Now, this is the first Octavia E. Butler book I read. After I read this book, I absolutely knew that Octavia E. Butler is one of my favorite authors, period. I still have plans to read the other books on the list. I just wanted you to know about that, and also for you to understand that her Xenogensis series would always have a soft spot in my heart because of the way in which it centers the failings of humanity, and how our hierarchical nature, which is the power structure, where one group decides to dominate over the others in a group in a bid to retain power within the group. This hierarchical nature, combined with our intelligence as a species, led to the destruction of our world. At which point, our protagonist and the person who sets off the series, Lilith Iyapo, is awakened centuries later by an alien race called the Oankali, who saw the downfall of our species and raced to save a few humans so that they could graft themselves to our DNA. It was weird and creepy and thought-provoking the way Octavia E. Butler's books are. And you know it's a good story when the book has me siding with an alien in an alien invasion story. I mean, this book had me feeling it all: rage and pain and despair and sadness and resignation and eventually hope. It's an amazing book. It was amazing. I loved it. Then there's the Half God of Rainfall by Inua Elams, which is an epic that tells us of gods and demigods mixing up the pantheons in a way that would have you gasping. Because see, in this story we follow Oludemi, who is a demigod born of the high priestess of Oshun, who was raped by Zeus, the wandering rapey penis. I hate that god. And when he being Deni, takes up basketball as a sport, he soars, getting adulations and praise, offerings and chants, worship that pulled from Zeus and diminished Zeus' powers. But see, the half god of rainfall is more Modupe's story. Modupe, the high priestess of Oshun, Modupe, who was violated by a god who thought he could just take whatever he wanted and there would be no consequences. It's a vengeance story meet mythological tale, meet love letter to basketball, all told with an epic poetry format that made me feel the exact same way I did the first time I read Homer's Iliad. Except, unlike with the Iliad, humanity won in the Half God of Rainfall, and God, that was so satisfying to read. And then the next book is inspired by the atrocities experienced by Sierra Leoneans, which is devastating. When you get the chance, you should totally read up on that. But next up is The Gilded Ones by Namina Fauna, in which we follow Deka, a young girl who prays and who is praying to be normal. She just desperately wants to be normal, desperately wants to fit in, does not want to suffer the fate of what it would mean to be an outcast, to be an atrocity. And for that to happen, for her to be normal, to find that normalcy that she so desperately wants, the acceptance that she so desperately needs, she needs to bleed red. But in this world where young girls are treated like chattel, which is something that is pretty common, even in the real world. In this world where girls are treated like chattel, Deka bleeds gold and is deemed impure. And to save herself, she has to join this elite group of young girls like her, whose job and task it is to fight demonic forces. This book is brilliant. The world is expansive, but most importantly, it's a book of friendship, of girls bonding through their collective trauma and forming their own family, their own support system, their own cheerleaders. And watching this happen on page, it got to me. It comforted me. It broke me and it put me together. It satisfied me. I love coming across that theme in books. The community of black women, of black girls, being each other's support system is absolutely brilliant. And then there is Raybearer by Jordan Ufueko. This is the story of Tarasai, a young girl who was also born from a traumatic experience with a mother who sees her daughter not as a child but a means to achieve an autocratic end. As such, she starves a child of love and affection, raises her in solitude, and then sends her off to the city to kill the first friend she ever makes. I know, some mothers, right? But Raybearer is Tarasai's story. It's about her deciding that she won't be anybody's pawn and would charter the course of her own life. And watching my darling girl come to that realization and put in the work was immensely satisfying. Bonus points for all the courtly machinations and scheming and backstabbing, plus the spirits coming to collect their due because power comes at a cost. I love that twist.
This is so good, oh my god.
And finally, there's The Magic Land of Shadows by Kola Onodipe, which is a children's book I read when I was a child about a girl who gets the Cinderella treatment from her stepmother and her stepsisters when her mother dies. But unlike Cinderella, who got the fairy godmother and the prince, she discovers a land of magic where she's not only happy and well taken care of, but her stepmother and her stepsisters got their comeuppance. And let me tell you, younger Noria, child Noria, was a vindictive child. I was vindictive as fuck. And that ending made me so goddamn happy at 8 years old. Like, I was thrilled. I was through the roof. Please note, at this point in time, I did not know that the Disney ending of Cinderella was not actually the actual ending of Cinderella. I had no idea about, the stepsisters cutting their toes in order to fit in the shoes. I didn't know that. I just felt like the Cinderella treatment, the Disney Cinderella treatment, let her stepmother and her stepsisters get off too lightly. They didn't even suffer. And like I said, I was a vindictive 8-year-old child, and I was like, nah. But the Magic Land of Shadows gave them the punishment I felt they deserved.
This is it. You get what I'm saying? This is it.
It's not the most spectacular best book written, but it would always be nostalgic for me for that. Like, yeah, definitely. But yeah, those are 10 favorite Black SFF books. Let me know which of these books I talked about or mentioned that you might be interested in reading. Drop it down in the comments down below. I'm really interested in getting your feedback on that. If you've read any of them, let me know whether you agree or disagree with them making it to my list. As always, I will drop the links to these books in the description bar, so if you want to pick them up, you can click on the link. Good luck though with finding the Magic Land of Shadows, because that book is rare. Shit is so fucking rare. And speaking of rarities and rare things, I would once again like to reiterate that the Kukou Kickstarter is live right now, so you don't miss out and start being all like, oh my god, this actually does sound cool and I didn't get it. Like, go click on that link and make your pledge. Whatever is comfortable for you and comfortable for your pocket, and just wait and get all the goodies that will come with it. But yeah, that's it. That's the end of this video. If you're like, oh my god, Noria, you did not mention River Solomon, etc., I did not mention them because I have not yet read their work. I think I would probably be making this list like every year or every 2 years. When I get like more Black SFF books that I absolutely adore, I will make a new list and just like turn this into like a playlist, just for you. So yeah, that's about it. That is the end of this video. As always, if you enjoyed it, do not forget to give it a big thumbs up. Check out my other videos. Subscribe if you want to, and if you do decide to subscribe, do not forget to click on the notification bell. So after you've hit subscribe, click on the bell icon so you can turn all notifications on so you don't miss any of my new videos. I make new videos every Wednesdays and Sundays, although technically sometimes I might post on those Wednesdays and Sundays, sometimes I might post on other days of the week, sometimes I might make multiple videos in the week. That is the reason why I keep saying turn all notifications on so you don't miss any of my new videos. Until next time, stay passionate, love books, love your nerdy ass self, and bye.